Goedenavond iedereen. Bonsoir, bienvenue. Welcome everyone to the Belgian premiere of Craigslist Allstars, a film by Samira Elagoz, who's here with us tonight. She's going to say for the film, and then afterwards we're going to have a Q&A with Samira, myself, and Dries Douibi, who's our performing arts programmer. The film is about 1 hour, and then we will have half an hour for Q&A, where the audience can also ask questions. So yeah, I would like to invite Samira to say a few words before we start.
Hey, and thanks. It's open for coming. So I need to say a few words before you're going to watch the film, because actually the whole film is based on this ad that I placed on Craigslist. And I think many of you know what Craigslist is, but for the ones that don't know, it's a website where you can post anything from housings to jobs to personal. And the ad that I placed myself a few years ago goes like this. Hey, I'm a 24-year girl making a short documentary film, and I'm looking for strangers. The concept is I meet you in your home and film how we get to know each other. So this film is a collection of what I experienced with people who answered this ad. And what you will see is all first encounters. So the rule was that once I got in, I could stay as long as I wanted, but I could not return to film once I left. I always go alone, so I don't use any camera person or sound person. But I told my subjects that they can use the camera if they wanted. And there is, of course, no script. So I basically told them that they can share whatever they want to share. And that's about it. So I hope I see you after for the Q&A.
I want to get into the film a little bit more. I mean, can we talk a little bit about the cinematography? Because it's very particular. I mean, it's like lo-fi and a bit crappy. And I mean, it's a choice that you made, I guess, or maybe not. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was a choice. It was each clip is made to look like how I experienced the situation I was in. So, for example, the magician clip is fast forward because it was, it was many days and it felt like faster. And then you have the Ukrainian, which was almost like felt like going to the 90s. So it can't be very good quality. So it was very much improvising in the moment. Like, how do I feel this? 'Cause, for example, the sperm expert, it's quite sharp because he's a very... So I think it was interesting to, recreate your own... I mean, there was not really so much methods anyway, because it was something I hadn't seen before, and it was also something I was just starting to make. But every time I would have to resituate the camera, and because in this situation, I don't know the person, I don't know their house, and I don't know the chemistry, and then I have to make a film about that. Yeah. So I think that was why it kept being fascinating, because I had to improvise a lot, and I think that's what SNDO as a school taught me. With if something, then this is how I used my improvisation skills. But I like, if I could say, I don't care so much close-ups. I like to film people how they're embedded in their environments, as if that would be part of their, that's as important as them as a person. What is behind them and how they are.
So your film is part of our focus program that we are doing right now, which is called The Future is Feminist. And something that has been written quite a lot about in feminist theory is this thing of the female gaze. So you have the male gaze, and then now there's also, for a long time, of course, there's the female gaze, which has been described and which is very present in your film as well. Can you talk about this? What the importance of that for you in this work?
Well, as you probably all noticed, it was only men, which was something that happened also naturally. I originally put the ad in Craigslist. There's a category called Strictly Platonic, where I put it first. But I noticed it was only men that answered, so very quickly I changed it to be a project about that. Because of course we all know this classical setup of women being the object and the inspiration and the muse for male artists. And I was also seeing that a lot, and I think what got me very bored was that all these women were portrayed in the same way. And that's of course what the whole male gaze is about, that women are put in a certain role. And then I couldn't really find a classification of what is female gaze. And even nowadays I think it's still being figured out, because for example in the New York, all the gallery exhibitions are female gaze means selfie, which is women's gaze to themselves. And for me that was never really, I wanted to turn that around, rather than have a woman that is portraying only men, but not to put them in a certain role, but give them the freedom to show them and decide what they want to show of themselves. So maybe one could say that that's more of a documentarist gaze and not a female gaze, but maybe that's exactly what it, which is for me a more respectful gaze than putting model be that or be a fetish or be whatever. What I felt that women were put, or what I had to identify when I was watching movies.
I want to also discuss the performativity in the film. One of the key scenes in the film for me is the discussion that you have with the director. This confusion about reality. He wanted to make a movie scene where he spanks you, and then you have this whole discussion. This is real, this is not real. We're performing it. We're not performing. But also for me, the film is at the same time you're, not too long, but at the same time you're quite vulnerable in it, but also masquerade is part of and performing for the camera and doing certain scenes. So I was wondering, could you elaborate a little bit on this, the reality, this notion of authenticity, which was also quite important for you, I think.
Well, first of all, what was always very important to me was that every one of the people knew that they will be filmed, and they knew that there will be a camera. Because some people still doubt that, if all of them were aware, which I found kind of ridiculous, because all of them are watching at the camera, some of them even holding, so it's very clear, and they all answered this ad. So I definitely, that was part of what will happen to two people in front of a camera, not without the camera. So it's definitely about the intimacy with the camera, and also how people perform themselves. So in a way, it's not like authenticity in that way, like everything has to be completely real. It's a very surreal situation, actually, to meet in front of a camera for the first time. It's not like I'm capturing these people in their everyday life, because it's not. So in that way, it's already a certain type of situation. So, but then everything inside of that could happen, and I like that they are also kind of my collaborators, so they can make decisions what will happen. And that's why I also give them the freedom to use the camera and flip the gaze around. Of course, not many of them did it like you saw, but it is an option for them.
And maybe a kind of follow-up question. Can you tell me something about the truth in the editing? As in, do you follow a chronology? Like the chronology that we saw, was it the chronology of the meetings? And were there a lot of meetings that we didn't see, that you filmed, and that just didn't make it into the movie because of different reasons? I was wondering about that.
First, maybe the second question. So actually, most of them are inside the film, because I also felt a little uncomfortable to make a selection what first encounter is better than the other. So in a way, I felt that my challenge for myself was to make each and one of them interesting whoever I will meet that will be interesting. So in a way, they are the first 15 almost that I ever met with a camera using in my hand. But of course, sometimes when I would go inside, there would be another person. Like in Germany once, I stepped in and this photographer I would go inside the house and I would look left and there was this big bedroom with 3 naked models in the bed. And then the whole situation became about me filming him, filming the girls, which is lovely material, but it's not my first encounter with him. So sometimes something like that occurred and that I cut out. And also some of I put in the performance, so I had to make a decision what material fits this work and what the other work. And editing, they are in a chronological order, the cities, but not people inside that, because actually I didn't feel the need to do that. And I think there I really wanted to make a dramaturgical line, because of course it's also artwork that you do, you know. And the Ukrainian was the first, so I felt that's a bit too harsh to start. It gives a kind of expectation for the film if you see that immediately. So that was already out of the way when I realized that that would be the chronological.
And when was like an encounter successful for you? Was it? I can imagine that sometimes you have like a really even an interesting meeting for you as a person, which can be different than really golden material for your movie. Which like, did you have to struggle with this also? Like now it's great for the movie, but a little bit boring for myself, and the other way around. Or were you really all the time did you had this film in your mind?
No, I think there was also a part when I stopped making this, when I kind of lost that. Because when I did this, when I filmed the Ukrainian, that was the first time I ever hold a camera. It was the first time I ever edited, and the first time I was actually doing this. And I think you can still see in that the most like curiosity and kind of, and I think you lose it a bit towards the end. And then after you've met enough of strangers, it becomes a familiar situation in a way, meeting a stranger. So then you start to kind of look for things and maybe fill up like what kind of person I'm missing. And then I stopped it because I felt that was not anymore, that was not authentic. But what was a successful meeting? All of them, I think. There was, you know, for me, the guy eating the carrot is as interesting anything wild that would happen. I was always moved by the fact that they were so open, like that they would, because I'm not an interviewer, so I don't really need to have to ask anything. They had a kind of, so I was always kind of, yeah.
Maybe there are questions from the audience at this point. Yeah.
What about the dangers of meeting someone you've never met before in a Craigslist context? Because you were alone, there was no one, there was no cameraman or anything. Did you think about it, or did you just go and how did you cope with that or something?
Yeah, so of course it's internet, so I had safety regulations also because of my school. Of course I had to sign a paper, so I had things. So for example, I would tell a friend where I was, the address, or I would have to send check-up messages, and the person I was filming knew all about that. They knew that if someone wouldn't hear about me in a certain amount of time, there would be very quickly people here. Which was very important because I'm not interested in danger. And I think when you eliminate that, I don't have to censor myself. And then it's almost like necessary that I don't have to be scared. And of course, every woman is aware that you are potentially in danger alone with a man. We're all aware of that. So that had to be put aside.
And then what about when people start to actually say things like, I will kill you? How did that make you feel then?
I felt safe with all of them. But of course, when we think that further, I think to many interesting art or journalism, there is an aspect of risk.
Anybody else? Who feels compelled to ask a question?
Could you explain a bit more, like behind the scenes, like how did it, I mean, I know every encounter was different, but how did it go when they opened the door for the first time, and was there any routine? Did you have any questions in mind? Yeah.
No, it was always different. Like I said before, that I was always kind of surprised that many of them had a thing that they wanted to share. So I never really needed to push at all anyone or kind of ask like, so who are you? But I think we always skip the sort of handshake information, because immediately when there's a camera, it is a kind of third eye in the room. So it creates this almost magical situation where any kind of interaction is emphasized. But it really was always different. In the Kokokos there, you see one of them actually from the door opening.
So you speak about, you questioned briefly earlier about what is real and what is not, and the third eye and things like this. So my question is how you think the situation would be different if there wasn't a camera in the room, because although everything is real and it's not a performance, we actually saw quite a lot of performances in terms of dancing, in terms of magic tricks and things like this, even the more passionate scenes. So the question is, do you think that the camera brought out the performer side of the subjects?
Yeah, we can ponder on that, but I think there is an amount of performativity to any first encounter, or actually any interaction anyway. So that like I said, I was kind of interested how they performed themselves. And I think, well, yeah, indeed, many of them wanted to show a kind of skill, or so we can wonder why that was. But yeah, definitely the reel of the situation and the reel of the camera are different. So it's not showing us any truth, it's provoking its own kind of truth. So it's not like I'm showing reality, but more aspects of it.
Special reason why you selected these 3 cities? Was there a message about Japan you were trying to give us?
No, also it's the shortest, so I think it would be a kind of mild. Well, I started with Amsterdam because I was living there, so that was a clear reason. And then I was in my last year of school, I went to do other things also in Berlin. And then I always wanted to go to Tokyo. So it's just a personal, I just want to go to Tokyo. It was difficult in Tokyo because of the language, of course, and then, yeah, a lot of people would offer me Japanese lessons, basically, as an answer to this ad. I was going to go to, I went to New York after, and I sort of tried it there, but it didn't really work out, which is funny because Craigslist is a very American thing, and it's even notorious there, which I didn't, because I didn't know Craigslist before. But it was proven because I couldn't get to meet, really, I think, one person I met. People were really suspicious that I was a scam. So I got a lot of hate mail, very creative hate mail even, with this. But yeah, I think it could have continued in many cities. But then the gallery work, it's already goes to Paris and Miami and Havana and New York and Helsinki. So it's always a new city type of thing, but the project just changes.
Maybe this is a good final question then. So you have activated all of this material in like you have the film, there's the performance, there's the installation. Is this still did it finish now for you, or is this still an ongoing project? Are you adding more Craigslist chapters? Will you develop different pieces still out of it, or?
Well, I already moved. In the other work, you see that I also made a project with chat roulette and with Tinder, and so it. I think what does stay in the core is always working with someone I've never met before and who is not from, from colleagues or anything like this. I find that very fascinating, but I think the going into houses, like I said, maybe I will make a Craigslist 2 like in 10 years, or then I will get back to it. But in this format, I don't think I will. I mean, I already moved past this, so.
If there are no more questions, one more final question.
Did you meet anyone one more time, or did you become friends with any of the participants?
Yeah, with quite so many actually. They were in the premiere, I think 3 or 4 of them even. One comes almost every time to see, and Steph wants to make a sequel, so. So yeah, that for me was the real part, that it was not only for this project, but actually they became part of my life after this. Of course, I didn't film them, but yeah.
Okay, final question. Then we will all then.
Yeah, that's a nice question. I felt that the setup somehow made us both be able to be ourselves in a way. Oh, there was something that I felt that they gave. But yeah, of course, you always get more to person by just meeting them. But I wouldn't, of course, yeah, one of them has been in my life quite extensively, so of course it has changed a lot. And it's it's a kind of beautiful thing that we have our first meeting on film. And even like, of course, there's even more material, so. But I felt like I knew them, like after that first encounter. Like definitely there was a really strong, it doesn't have to be romantic or anything like that even, but just like kind of connection. Yeah, maybe, because like I said, it really like, I didn't even know most of their names, and then we were revealing a lot of intimate stuff. So I think one can think that they were already people who are open, who would answer to this ad. Of course, it's not, you cannot generalize. It's about men even. It's almost like just a take on for people who would answer this ad. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, Samira.
Thank you.
She's still going to be around downstairs in the bar. So if you have any more pressing questions, please ask them in person downstairs.
And come see the performance in March.
And come see the performance in March. We don't know the exact date yet, do we?
6th and 7th, I think.
6th and 7th of March. Tickets with our friends at Kite Theatre. Thanks a lot.